Cry Macho is Clint Eastwood's newest film, and it's in theaters and available on HBO Max. This review will include some spoilers, so if you haven't seen Cry Macho yet and want to, go watch it and then come back. So, this film seems to be pretty mixed. A lot of critics don't like it, and most audiences like it. And I can see why this film is so mixed, because even I mixed on my feelings about this movie. And I would say that this movie has about an even amount of pros and cons, and maybe just a little bit more cons than pros. So let's start talking about this movie. Let's start off by talking about the story. The story is actually pretty interesting. It's about Mike paying his friend back by getting his son from Mexico and bringing him to him. And when I saw the trailer for this movie, it actually looked pretty interesting. And for the most part, it really was. But then 40 minutes in, the story gets significantly less interesting and also starts being repetitive. Most stuff happens at least twice in the movie, like Mike's car gets stolen once, and then they get a new car, but the gas leaks on that one, so they basically get stranded. And Mike and Raffo encounter bad guys at least 4 times, and they're mostly the same, where they'll hold them at gunpoint and then they'll distract them and get the gun from them. And that part looked really interesting in the trailers, and I wish it was better here. But there's one interesting part in the last half of the movie, and that is the romantic subplot between Mike and Marta. It was pretty sweet and heartwarming, and I really liked it. And it's unfortunate that it's the only interesting part of the last half of the movie. Let's talk about the pacing in this movie. It's actually pretty bad. It gets repetitive and also really boring throughout the movie, that it actually gets kind of tedious. And also, not even a half of this movie is interesting. And most of the movie is just spent on Mike and Raffo hanging out in like towns or something and encountering a couple new people. But that's pretty much it, and it was pretty boring to see, and I wish that we had more interesting parts. This movie is also kind of misleading. Some discussions early on seem important to the plot, where like Mike and Howard talk about how he broke his back in the 50s riding a horse, and it seems pretty interesting, but they don't do anything with it besides another discussion with Raffo and just a 10-second flashback of it happening. There was another part where it showed all of Raffo's scars that he got from out on the streets and his mom abusing him, which was honestly pretty intriguing, and I wanted to hear more about it and it to be brought up more. But they only use it like once to escape the bad guys, and that stuff felt like it was a way for conveniences. Now let's talk about the pros in this movie. This movie is overall charming. A lot of interactions between characters are wholesome and sweet when they should be, and it was a great thing to see. And every character that the movie wants to be likable is likable. This movie also has some good performances. Clint Eastwood, Eduardo Minette, Natalie Traven, and Dwight Yoakam are the standouts in this movie, and their interactions between each other are really charming and entertaining, and they really carry the film. The characters are also well written to the point where there isn't a single bad moment of interaction with any character. Overall, Cry Macho is a good film that you'll probably like if you're a fan of westerns or Clint Eastwood films, but it's definitely not one of the best movies of the year. But overall, I still enjoyed myself, and I'm going to give Cry Macho a 7 out of 10. Guys, thanks so much for watching. I'll be back soon with a lot of videos, like Hotel Transylvania 3 Summer Vacation, Venom, some James Bond movies, and a lot more, so stay tuned for those. You can check out my other channels linked in the description, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!